I told Krispy Kreme to fuck off yesterday.
Why?
I sat in the drive. I went 10:30 at night. They got the hot dog 10:30 in the afternoon, or in the morning. I mean, they got the hot donut light on, and I wanted to get one of each of those 2 Oreo donuts. I pull up to the thing. I'm just sitting there for like 6 fucking cars, and they go, "We only have chocolate and original glazed right now." I'm like, "Go fuck yourselves," and I drove off.
God damn. See the problems that donuts cause everybody upset with Krispy Kreme. I did something similar to that today at Walmart. I went to buy some vitamin C, some Roundup, because I'm out of both. And I don't take the Roundup. I kill, things with it. So
you're taking Roundup if you're eating any food.
Yeah, but I don't drink it out of the bottle. I like it better on my fruit.
You do it anally?
Well, anally, orally, nasally.
But you make bath salts out of that?
No, but you can dry it out and crystallize the powder, or take the crystallized powder that's left and snort it.
Oh, okay.
Do that. So don't sue us, Roundup. Monsanto, you evil corporation from hell. No, I went to Walmart today just to pick up a couple of items, and it's 3:00 in the afternoon. You wouldn't think that Walmart would be super busy, even though they always are. But there was one line open, just one line with a cashier in it. And they have 20 registers, right? And they do have the self-checkout, but the self-checkout had a line, a double line it was wrapped around. And I had this arm full of stuff. And I walked by one of the employees there and I said, "You going to open any more registers?" And they just looked at me. So I just dropped everything on top of one of those rubber things where you put stuff in the aisle, and I just walked out. Fuck you. Putting this shit.
Wow.
Then you know where I went? I went to Ace Hardware, because Ace Hardware, they're pretty effective.
Yeah, Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, man.
All these places, they're doing self-checkout now. Kroger, Publix. Maybe it's become more popular because of the pandemic, but I don't fucking work at your store. I'm not fucking ringing everybody up.
Bill Burr bit. I forgot. I didn't know I had to work today. Walks out with those, but it's true. But if it's a new Kroger, there's a brand new Kroger off of Chambly Dunwoody, and I think it's in Chambly. I don't know exactly where, but it's right off Chambly Dunwoody in 285. That Kroger has, I think, 10 to 20 self-checkouts, so it's lightning fast. But again, a place like Walmart, they're making a shit ton of money during this pandemic because they've been open the whole time, and they also have you can order shit and have it mailed to you and all that stuff, but they're making money hand over fist at these places. Hire some people, put them in there. Or maybe they're having a hard time finding people to work, because that's happening at the Starbucks near me. They can't keep it staffed, so they can't open the door, meaning you have to go through the drive-through, meaning that I just go to the coffee shop down the street, which has better coffee anyway. So anyway, we started the last show about talking about food, but I do have to say that on Sunday, I went out to my parents and I stopped at Donut Dollies, the place that we plugged last week, and I picked up a couple donuts for them, and I got Caitlin the honey glazed cheddar poblano pepper, and there's one left out there in the kitchen. I think I'm going to eat it after the show.
What'd she think of it?
It was really, really delicious and rich, but you can't eat more than one. Before we get to what we're going to talk about, because we have a lot to talk about, but we have one thing, but a lot to talk about that one thing. Please remember a couple of things. Go to our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Radio Labyrinth Podcast. And even if you just like to listen, please subscribe. We need a lot of subscribers. That way Dustin can start making some change. You know what I mean? Some bucks, some scroll. And
we want to make Dustin the next Mr. Beast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah, because I want to make it all so I can give it away to y'all.
Oh, Mr. Beast on Twitter. That guy who gives his money away?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Let's see what else. Also, you can follow us on YouTube. I'm sorry, you can follow us on Twitter at radio_labyrinth, Facebook. Go to the Facebook page and then go down to the bottom and join in the conversation with all the radios at the Radio Shack. Let's see what else. Oh, if you'd like to become a Radio Labyrinth Patreon member, just go to patreon.com/Tim Andrews. Everybody who signs up between now and the end of April will get a nice little care package of stickers and all sorts. Maybe I'll even throw a doodle in. How about that? And if you come in, of course, as a producer, you get your choice of T-shirts that are on our Store Frontier store. If you go down and look at the show notes, either on YouTube or in your podcatcher, you can find links to all the items we have and all sorts of things like that. And yeah, so it's really cool. So you can go check that out. And while you're there and you're looking at the show notes and you want to keep supporting Radio Labyrinth, one easy thing to do is click on podcastmagazine.com/hot50 and vote for us. I believe we were number 35 last time they did it.
23.
We were 23.
Okay. Yeah. We were number 23. So, yeah.
It came out today for April and we're 15.
Are you kidding?
What?
Yep.
Holy macaroni. Thank you, everybody. And
yeah, man.
Podcast Magazine. That's pretty damn cool. And then
That's the highest we've made it.
Jeff sits at home and just has it refreshed.
I put my bots on it.
Hey, we got an event that we've planned. We've hashed everything out. It's going to be Sunday, May 16th from 2 to 5 p.m. Atlanta Pizza Gyro in Conyers, Georgia. Now, we've done events there before. This is going to be more of a come hang with us, eat, and we'll have a microphone and stuff to record you guys with if you want to do stuff. And, you know, of course, we'll all be there to chat and talk, but it's just going to be an informal. We know the pandemic isn't over, but shit, we've been locked down and we've been out of lockdown and now people are vaccinated, but who cares? We're going to get together. We're going to eat some pizza. And here's how it's going to work, because Atlanta Pizza Gyro is closed on Sundays, but you know, they're going to open up for us. Mike will open up for us. They're going to have 5 different pizza stations with a few different choices. You're going to have your, traditional cheese and pepperoni. You're going to have vegetable special, Mediterranean special with gyro meat. Yum, yum, yum. House special and a couple of specialty choices like the Reuben for me. So don't even, try to hone in on that. And possibly a Cuban style pizza, which is Mike's wife's Kim's creations. Mike's wife, Kim's creation. And here's some cool things about it. They're going to have easy on food service gloves so everyone can self-serve and you don't have to worry about getting anybody's cooties. There'll be hand sanitizer. Everyone will be provided with a Greek salad so you can get your salad fix. Now, we were talking off show. We're not on air. Everybody there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thought I heard a click because I'm reading. I can't see. So anybody that wants to bring something, we're not going to do a potluck, but if you want to bring your kids, you're encouraged to bring them. And if you want to bring snacks and desserts for them, that's great, or desserts for everybody. So desserts, donuts, whatever. I'm going to try to get some donuts. He's going to offer free soft drinks, Coke products, and sweet tea and water, of course, not bottled, but, out of the tap. For any person who shows up, nobody has to pay to come to the event. But if you'd like to join in on the eating, it's $8. That's it for an adult, $5 for kids. Seems like a fair deal. And they'll pass around the bucket at the end. So the wait staff and the people that are there working can tip them out. Also, he will have adult beverages for sale. They have great prices on local beers, and they'll run a tab for you and keep track for you on an individual basis. So that sounds like fun. That, again, is going to be Sunday, May 16th from 2 to 5 p.m. Atlanta Pizza Gyro in Conyers. We'll put the address and everything all in the information for you there. But if you don't live in Atlanta and you're tired of hearing us talking about what we're eating in Atlanta and where we're going to eat in Atlanta, on with the show.
You are scum! Do you hear me, soldier? Yes, sir! Do you know what we are going to do today? No, sir! Well, we are going to be doing push-ups all day! You and me, all day! Do you think that's funny, soldier? No, sir! Well, then you will be doing those push-ups with me lying on your back! You are going to discover muscles you never knew you had! Big muscles! Hard muscles! Oh, yes, sir! Guess what? I'm gay. Yay!
So today is April 12th, and the significance of
I'll have both my doses of Gleeman X by the time we have that event at Atlanta Pizza in Europe.
that's right. You're going to take your Gleeman X. It's going to feel like God is rubbing your tummy, like Mrs. Herdecure, and a movie that came out 25 years ago today. And that movie is Brain Candy. Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. 25 years has gone by. Can you believe that shit? 25 years. And I saw that in the theater with like maybe 3 other people, probably drug addicts in the middle of the day because I had weekdays off. I was a manager at Bob Evans, and I was getting ready to wind down and move down to Atlanta. In fact, I moved to Atlanta, I think probably a month or a month and a half later. But yeah, 25 years. And the movie, I think, has held up well. It's become kind of a cult classic. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Steph brought it to our attention this morning. And what do you guys?
Just, we've touched on this movie over the years because we're all such big fans of it. But to see that it was the 25th anniversary, I thought, let's take a deep dive.
As deep as we can dive. I mean, we didn't spend all day. I worked, and then I did yard work, so I didn't, really just memorize everything that I read. But
you saw the movie enough to where you remember it.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, when it came out on video, I bought it and watched it over and over again. And then when it came out on DVD, I bought it and watched it over and over again. I don't know where it is, and I don't even know if it's streaming, but I'm going to try to find it. Dustin, you said
watch that. You can watch it on YouTube for free, but you got to watch the ads.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube, and if you search, there's more than one without the ads.
But it's not on any streaming service right now, right?
No, it's probably in licensed limbo. There's a lot from that era that is.
It's too bad. It is definitely a 90s film. It looks like a 90s film. The clothes look like 90s film. The music is 90s music. And of course, it's the apex of Kids in the Hall, because at that point, as they were making the film, Dave Foley had left the band, the comedy troupe of Kids in the Hall, and was starring in News Radio on NBC, which was a show that was amazingly funny and very well done. And, had to wrap because of what happened to one of its stars, Phil Hartman. But jumping ahead, yeah, the movie came out April 12th, 1996, and there's so much surrounding this film that I didn't know anything about. So I just learned all of it today. I've known for a long time that like the boss, the main character who ran the, first of all, somebody go
Don,
go ahead and do like a little bit of a plot synopsis or recap.
A group of scientists, there's a company that's a medical manufacturer, pharmaceutical manufacturer that makes
pharmaceuticals.
Yes, and they're weeding through their research and development and going to get rid of a lot of it. So they get to a group, the main group of the movie, the group of scientists that are working in their little room on a antidepressant drug. And I would say it's probably about 50% done. They just started making it function, and then they were going to go through all the trials, and they get forced by the boss to either make the drug now or lose your job. So they go forward with the drug, and it's a drug that makes everyone's dreams come true. It's the ultimate in antidepressant. Unfortunately, there's side effects from it that they didn't find out until later, and it ensues and leaves open for lots of plots. And basically, it's a giant Kids in the Hall Easter egg basket. It has all of their characters in this one plot. Touches on almost every character they had in the show except for a few. And of course, like Kids in the Hall, each actor plays at least 8 or 9 characters in the film.
And the sad thing was, because they were fighting with Dave Foley ended up being cut a lot of the film and not being in an awful lot. And a lot of his characters didn't make it from the show onto the movie. And I mean, if you read interviews with everybody at that time, they were at each other's throats. Well, they weren't. The 4 guys were mad at him and he was mad at them. And then they had all sorts of shit going on in their own lives that really made it like, and you start in this movie and you have all this negative crap surrounding you. I think there were a couple of divorces, and Scott Thompson's brother had committed suicide like 2 weeks before they started shooting the film. So you're already going in with your mind other places to make a comedy film. And much like a lot of the Monty Python movies, and let me back up a little bit. I think Kids in the Hall was the one show that kind of reminded me of of Monty Python. They would slide in and out of sketches, and things would end and begin that didn't really have an out or an in. And, the movie, like Dustin said, flowed that way. Every scene had somebody from, or some character other than the main characters of the movie that they were doing. So I'm sure it took an awful lot of ability to make that film and to play all those characters.
The biggest thing for me was how much the film was looked down upon, and finding out that, the main reason that it wasn't pushed by Paramount was they had one problem with the Cancer Boy skit.
I know, I remember.
Yeah, they wanted the Cancer Boy skit out, and they stuck by their guns and said, no, we're not going to remove it. And Paramount was contractually obligated to release it, but they weren't contractually obligated to promote it. So They pulled like $7 million of post-production marketing and basically just set it out to fail. And that's exactly what it did.
My marrow is low.
Hi, I'm Cancer Boy. My marrow is low.
Oh, there's no hope for me.
That's what I don't understand. I mean, Cancer Boy was making fun of the fact that, celebrities use all of these children with cancer for promotion of themselves.
Right.
And it wasn't, meant to make fun of Cancer Boy at all. And that wasn't, but, an executive who is who they're making fun of course, took it at face value and didn't want it out there.
Yeah. The whole movie is dark and in a way that mocks the culture at the time. Because remember, Prozac was the big drug in the early 90s. It was the Generation X drug. They wrote books about it. Prozac Nation, and this chick, I forget her name, wrote a book about it and got real famous. And that was it. Pharmacology kicked in big time in the 90s. And then they changed the law so you can advertise all those fucking drugs on TV. And, ask your doctor about Abilify. Don't take if you're allergic to Abilify. How do you know if you're allergic to it if you've never, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Does it cause flipper babies?
Yes.
How many flipper babies?
It was only a couple of flipper babies. So not only is the cast of Kids in the Hall playing the scientists in the lab and all the people who are being tested on and the people taking the drugs and then all the tertiary characters, but they're also playing the executives. And the main executive, of course, is the guy who owns the company. And I believe his name is, what is his name? Don Rorator. That's right. Mark McKinney played him. And he's based on Lorne Michaels.
Very obviously.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure this was what gave Mike Myers permission to do Dr. Evil the following year when he did Austin Powers.
So Austin Powers came out in 1997.
I think so, the first one.
Wow. God, that's a long time ago, too.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And that was an over characterization, and it was great. Dr. Evil was great, but Mark McKinney's really nailed it.
I was gonna say Dr. Evil at least hid behind the facade of a Bond character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McKinney didn't care at all. He even used the exact same hair wig and everything to look just like Lorne Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
Marv was his assistant. And that was one of Dave Foley's characters, and Marv was the one who was his little lackey, his toady, who did all of his work for him, and the one who was coming down on the people downstairs. So Chris Cooper go ahead.
You have 5 minutes
for what?
That's what Dave Foley's line was.
Yeah.
He kept going, "Hey, Mr. Cooper, you got 5 minutes?"
Get upstairs for 5 minutes.
When are we finally going to get the big table in here?
I could go out there and cut down that tree myself.
Where are we on that? You mean the thing you just mentioned? Yeah. Oh, we're on it. The main character in the film is Chris Cooper. That's played by Kevin McDonald. Chris Cooper is the inventor of the drug, the scientist. He's motivated by his father's suicide. His father was depressed, and his father's suicide took 2 hours because he kept shooting himself until he hit an artery. And the fellow scientist Alice is played by Bruce McCulloch, who's in love with him. And then, the rest.
We almost kissed.
Yeah.
Wasn't Dave Foley supposed to play the lead character?
Yes.
for this whole mishmash.
Yeah, he was supposed to play it, and then when he exited, they kept some of the they moved around some of the cameo characters, and that's why he was able to come in and do it. Yeah, he was out to the point that they didn't even credit him as one of the writers. So I mean, he was literally just finishing up doing his bits and getting back to news radio.
One of the writers I found out is Norm Hiscock. Is that how you say his name? He's known for his work on SNL, King of the Hill, Kids in the Hall, Corner Gas, Parks and Recreation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One of the characters on Brooklyn Nine-Nine is named after him. And he also did Trailer Park Boys animated. I've seen his name a million times. I just didn't know he was associated with this movie. And the guy who did the music for the film is a member of the band Odds. His name's Craig Northey.
Oh, the odds. Yeah. It falls apart. Little pieces on the floor.
And Jeff knows him. So he reached out to him,
Wow.
and we'll be reading some questions. Jeff asked him some questions. He's too busy. He's recording, but I will read them as him, and Jeff will ask the questions. God, I'm going to watch it again. I'm kind of jealous Dustin watched it. If I, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't know today was the anniversary of it, or I would have prepared more.
I love one of my favorite characters in the whole thing is Bruce McCullough as Cisco.
Yeah.
Is the diabolical evil Cisco.
Uh,
When
There's
he's
something in my eye. Goddamn bird.
you mean like the slick ass marketing guy who comes up with the,
yeah.
wears the shiny suit?
Yeah. And
But
he has no conscience whatsoever.
Isn't he also the guy that goes, it's a drug that gives worms?
No, that's
Yeah.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, he plays the same. Yeah, he plays that character.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
Bruce
different character, but yeah, it's McCullough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, when he first comes in the room, Cooper first comes in the room, he's like, "Hey, why aren't you a plate of croissants?" He goes, "Why don't you get me something to eat before I chew my fucking hand off?" He's like, "Oh, he created the drug." Oh, thank you for creating such a wonderful drug.
Well, and the fact that what the drug actually does, it's not just an antidepressant, it locks you in your happiest memory.
And
And
it
that's
makes your brain feel like it's always 72 degrees.
Right in your
Right.
head.
But it takes you to your happiest memory. And then when the drug goes bad, you're stuck in that memory and you're just kind of frozen.
And
You just keep reliving it over and over.
Like all the people that got the Moderna shot are going to be in a couple of months.
But it is the first person that they tested on is a Scott Thompson character, Mrs. Herdicure, and she's depressed, and they put it in her mouth, and her greatest memory is this horrible. It's
5-second visit.
yeah, her son walks in, "Hi, Mom," and the kids like tear open the presents. Like, "I didn't want this, dummy," and she goes, "Oh, let me go check on the bird." And he goes, "Yeah, any eggnog?" He does a shot. I hear that's bad. He does the shot of whiskey or whatever, or rum or whatever the fuck it is. He goes, "Well, gotta go." "Oh, geez, it was nice seeing you. See you next year." And so her character was great. Then you see her a couple of scenes later, and she's on one of those spinny things, you know. "Oh, this is so much fun."
Those gyroscopes.
Yeah, the gyroscope. Scott Thompson plays the best characters in the entire movie, I think. Well, they're all
I'm
really.
gay. I'm gay.
Yeah.
To be straight, but now I'm gay.
It's where's your father? He's upstairs masturbating to gay porn again. That fireman video, Mr. October.
Every time they bust open a door, all these gay guys come running out.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, the rest area.
Scott Thompson's in there. Yeah.
There I was trying to use the urinal. I look over and he's got his pants around his goddamn ankles.
So he takes the Gleamanex and he comes out. He puts on the little sexy cop outfit and does the parade and sings the song. And that to me was pretty elaborate what they did in that scene.
Oh, yeah.
God, what's the other one? Oh, the character that Bruce McCullough played that was it was like based on Danzig.
Yeah, it's based on Glenn Danzig. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like this miserable, like everything sucks. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Grievo was his name.
Yeah.
And he had those horrible songs, but then he takes the drugs and he becomes like this poppy hippie who sung Happiness Pie, and his fans end up hating him.
It's funny. Korn, when they tour through Canada, they play that song live every concert.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they redo that whole song that they start the movie with.
There are two cameos in the film of famous actors at the time. Brendan Fraser is one of the test subjects, and Janine Garofalo is in it, but her scene is extremely small. But
yeah, they cut both of their scenes down really small. Have you ever seen the unedited version?
No, where can you find that?
Oh man, I'm not sure where you can find it now. I know when this first came out, I was working at Blockbuster, and there was it was what we would put on every night when the store would close while we were just putting everything back up. And everybody got into it. And one day, one of the guys that worked there, actually his name is Chris, and he is a radio in California. And if you're watching this, Chris, find a way to send me that tape.
I know that
he had a VHS of it, and it was like
did it have the alternate ending?
It had a different ending.
Yeah.
And it had a lot more of Brendan Fraser. He kept coming back up, and Janine Garofalo's part was a little bigger. And there were other little bitty pieces of characters that took the drug that they didn't show you. So I think it was close to like 2.5 hours, maybe long.
I gotta watch that.
And it's a long movie anyway, but yeah, there is another version of it. But yeah, there's all the cameos that they had. No, I don't think any of them were credited. Like Brendan Fraser's wasn't for sure.
Yeah, it was funny though. I can't remember what his thing was, but he didn't want to take the drug, and they'd hit him up in his mouth.
Oh, he said this is a placebo, isn't it? I'm in the placebo group.
Yeah,
he goes, what do you mean? He goes, I've gained 8 pounds in 2 weeks, and I don't feel any different. It's just sugar.
Yeah. So if you know where to find that film out there and you're a radio or you're out in California, you know, because I want to see that alternate ending because it ends up with Chris is in a coma. That's how the movie ends. So
I think the alternate ending is online. You can find the ending by itself.
Okay.
I saw that today whenever I was scrolling through. I just didn't get a chance to watch it.
I want to watch the Herdicure cut, which is all the scenes that they cut out. So Steph found an article on Mental Floss, which is a great magazine I used to subscribe to. And I don't think they print it anymore, but it doesn't matter. So it was 20, what is it? It's 25 things you might not know about brain candy, written by Chris Higgins from April 25th, 2014. So we'll go through those real quick if you guys are cool with that. Number one, it was supposed to have been called The Drug, but Paramount Pictures wouldn't allow them to call it that. So they ended up calling it brain candy. Cancer Boy's marrow is low. Do it again, Steph.
My marrow is low. Ow.
Ow. Did they do that character? They did that character on the TV show too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a lot more, I think. And Dustin said earlier in the show that Cancer Boy was a no for Paramount. They wanted it cut. They refused to cut it. And because they wouldn't cut it out of the film, Paramount canceled their marketing budget. But, you know, it's a great scene and it really means more than, you know, if you see it and you get offended, then you're not seeing it the way they wanted you to see it.
Did you see the doctor in me?
Yeah. Not only was Cancer Boy a pre-existing character, they did a whole bunch of them. Bigot Cabby, who was a great one, White Trash Couple, Raj, Lacey, Melanie, Nina Bedford, the Queen, who Scott Thompson back then was my favorite character on the show, just because he did so many. And I love that guy that he did and the police department cops are in there. The police department cops from the show were great too. In those really short scenes that they do with those, I think it was Mark McKinney and I think Bruce McCulloch, but I can't be sure.
Yeah.
We talked about this. The movie is surrounded by death. It's pretty much all about death and misery and sadness and how people handle that. Dave Foley is the only member of the troupe who didn't play a female in the movie. And because he was in news radio, they're suggesting that maybe he didn't want to do drag because of that. That doesn't make any sense. So we talked about all these things. Maybe I don't need to go through. We talked about all this stuff. Gleeman X has a fake real name. So what the hell is it? Durofluorexaminimum or something like that. It was briefly visible when the Queen approved. So is that what it is? Yeah, they had to go to the
Yeah, that was, I was going to say that must have been a quick catch for somebody because that scene's like 2.5 seconds long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the film, when it was released, this really wasn't a deep dive on my part, but thank God you guys are here. I just would have been all over the place. But the film was released. Siskel and Ebert hated it. Roger Ebert especially hated it. And I read a joke. Steve Thompson said a joke. He goes, I love that he didn't like it. And, I made fun of him. I go, I bet his jaw hit the floor.
Oh,
God. Oh, damn.
But Thompson said, and I can do that joke because I had cancer as well. So
Yeah, he's a cancer survivor. That was his main push behind Cancer Boy and why it was a good idea as opposed to a bad one.
right, because he had beaten it. But Gene Siskel, on the other hand, gave it 3.5 stars and called it audacious, clever, and very funny.
I always side with Siskel. I always like Siskel's reviews over Ebert.
Yes. And why was I doing that as the guy from the Today Show, Gene Shep?
You gotta wonder though if like 25 years later, if Siskel and Ebert were still around, if they would reconsider their positions on some of these movies that have become cult classics. You know what I mean?
Think that they would.
There's examples of that of at least Roger Ebert doing that. And I can't pinpoint them right now or remember them right now, but I've read where he said, I've gone back, or he went back and revised his thoughts on films that did well, or I gave it a second look and I really enjoyed it. But those two are the go-to back then. I used to watch them all the time.
Mm-hmm. From the balcony.
Yeah. And then there was another one with Michael Medved. Siskel and Ebert were originally on PBS, and when they left, they got their own syndicated show. So they replaced them, and one of them was Michael Medved, but I can't remember the other person. Michael Medved. You guys remember him?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You don't remember him?
Mm-mm.
You would if you Googled him, saw his face. He ended up being a right-wing talk show host, but that's neither here nor there. So do you want to read the questions that you asked Craig Northey? Now tell everybody again who Craig is and how you know him.
He's a musician. He was in the Odds, and he also tours with Stephen Page from Bare Naked Ladies, which we saw at City Winery back before the pandemic.
Right. That was a fun show.
Yeah, so he's like a multi-instrumentalist, plays bass and guitar and like some keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to him because I knew we were talking about it today. So I thought I'd see if he wanted to come on, but he's in the studio and he's recording. So he said he would just shoot me a quick email with some memories from the movie. So I said, tell me about the memories of working on the movie. And he wrote back,
I have many memories. It was my first big scoring job. They asked and I said, sure, I can do that. I had no clue, but we all shared similar sensibilities. So I made sure to honor their vision. Oh, I love how he spelled honor.
He's Canadian.
I know. Isn't that great? Honour. Their vision and Kelly's vision as a director. I hired Doug Elliott and Pat Stewart from my band Odds, and we wrote and recorded the score in a basement room of a nightclub on Granville Street in Vancouver, British Columbia. It was our band room. The rent was covered. It was sweaty and noisy. It was completely organic, on-the-job learning.
And I asked him what brain candy meant at the time and if that maybe has changed after going through this whole pandemic and stuff, what his thoughts were on the movie.
And he replied, well, the kids gave me my start in the composing game, and I've been doing it for 25 years now. That means a lot. It was a tough time in our lives for a number of reasons, but it was also exciting. I never knew where any of it was leading, and that is very similar to these pandemic times. I now spend all of my composing time alone in my own studio, but I have been fortunate to remain busy throughout the pandemic.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I said, tell us what he's been working on, and if he wanted to plug anything that he had coming up in the future.
He says, I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. It's been weird, but sometimes I get inspiration from weirdness. I've just finished co-composing the score for season 2 of Tall Boys on CBC, which is Canadian Broadcasting Company. It's a great young sketch comedy troupe, and the director and showrunner is my friend Bruce McCullough from Kids in the Hall. I'm also on season 4 of Corner Gas Animated, which I believe you can see on IMDb TV in the United States. The principal behind that is Brent Butt, whom I met the night I met the kids in the hall in 91 or 92. All roads lead to the same places, I guess. I have an album coming out with Strippers Union right now, double LP called The Undertaking. You can hear it all on your Spotify, Apple Music type platforms. It's the third album in my collaboration with Rob Baker of the Tragically Hip, and a few more odds are in the band as well. There's an odds album ready to go, just working on artwork and a release plan. I love Atlanta, and I hope to see any of you soon somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate him.
That was
responding
really
to us.
cool.
I just, tell him thank you for all of us, and we'll put his information in the show notes too. The cool thing I remember about discovering Kids in the Hall is that when it was on at weird times, like sometimes it would be on after Saturday Night Live at like 2 or 1:30 in the morning on NBC, if your affiliate carried it. And then sometimes it was on HBO. And
It started on HBO.
I didn't see it on HBO. I saw it on NBC first, and then I saw it on HBO. And on HBO it was dirty. But what I'm getting to is when we first got, I don't even think it was Comedy Central yet, but it might have been. It was either that or Comedy Channel. What was it called before?
Comedy Channel, yeah.
We watched it in Michigan. We watched it. It was like a Canadian channel that we watched it on.
Yeah, Comedy Channel was Canada's version of Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Well,
And it was broadcast down in the States through some UHF.
Well, Penn Jillette was the voice guy on whatever channel this was. And this is 1993 because Clinton was president. And I remember that. And I lived in Binghamton. That's all I remember. Well, I lived with my friend Larry. And Kids in the Hall was on, I think, 5 or 6 times a day, maybe more than that. That's what they showed all day long, were episodes of Kids in the Hall. So we recorded them and watched them and watched them and watched them and watched them. And then, they'd be cut in with other stuff like, stand-up comedy. But that's how I really got into Kids in the Hall. And then I got all the DVDs and just watched them over and over again. And I do have a favorite sketch. I want to see if you guys have one. I think my favorite sketch of all from the television show is when, I can't remember which character it is. Yes, I can. It's Bruce McCullough as not as Cancer Boy, but as that annoying kid who goes to it. What you doing there? Oh, you're painting that chair. You
How
remember
much something like that pay?
Yeah. Need any help? I knew these guys. They taught their dog how to go get smokes. I forget it again. Very good. So anyway, that is, I think you guys did a good job. I think I was scatterbrained. I think I am just scatterbrained.
I want to check out that Tall Boys if Bruce McCullough's doing it and it's a sketch show.
Same.
I'm going to try and find that.
How is Canada keep doing all these great ensemble shows and sketch comedy shows? We don't seem to have that anymore. Do we? I don't think we do.
Yeah, we kind of had a heyday with like Human Giant and Ass Cat and all those.
Human
for a
Giant,
lot of it.
so good. But they were all too talented and too high in demand. I think that's why that show couldn't go on.
But I mean, in Letterkenny comes out of Canada, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and Trailer Park Boys, and those shows are so popular here.
Well, also it's because you've got the government dictates where the money goes to fund these shows. So these are, you put in like Letterkenny, they proved themselves with the first season. I think they got approved for the first season and the second season. And then after they did those 2 seasons, they put in for a new grant and got enough to do 10, I think, after that. So like they're set, they were set for like the next 10 years.
That's awesome.
And just because, they proved themselves, and it's amazing, Trailer Park Boys, they put in, they do a lot of stuff, self-promoted. I think there's a little with Canada, you've got almost what reminds me of like when bands in small towns would have followings and it would lead them to a national following. That you almost have the same type of mindset with these comedy troupes or comedy groups. They're treated like local celebrities and are actually pushed and endorsed by the people around them. And that kind of camaraderie you don't have in the States down here. That's why Jared Kiso started Letterkenny. I mean, he came down to the US, came to LA, started his career. I mean, he was in the 2014 Godzilla movie. He was one of the he's the head helo jumper. that jumps out. And he learned real quick that he was not going to be able to do what he wanted to do. He was going to have to follow the LA, routine. So he literally left, went back to Canada, and then got together with his friends and started putting together this show. And so, I think Canada's got a lot of homegrown talent, and they nurture it, and they treat it differently than we treat it here.
Okay.
Yeah, they do top quality stuff too.
Yeah, they do. One thing about Kids in the Hall that I forgot to mention, about a year and a half ago, not a year and a half ago, about a year and a month ago, there was a story all over the internet that Amazon was going to be carrying new episodes of Kids in the Hall. They were getting back together to do the series again. And I can't find any update.
So it's still listing season 6, episode 1 as coming out in 2021, but I haven't heard anything about production. And I follow all the Kids in the Hall like on Instagram and stuff, and I haven't seen that they've started production. So
considering they probably shoot
it. It's the pandemic.
Well, I think if they shoot it in Canada, then look, Canada's fucked. Their baseball team plays in Florida, and then they're going to play in Buffalo again. And you know what I mean? They can't do anything in Canada. They can't get the vaccine. The prime minister's a douchebag, and I feel so terrible for them. Come down here.
The queen didn't put her stamp on it yet.
Oh, that's true.
Nah. I think they're trying to get the vaccines up there. But
one thing I wanted to say about Kids in the Hall is that my ex-fiance, I was 18, he was 27, and I thought he was very boring and dull. However, he turned me on to Kids in the Hall, and I thought, because the show was so great, that maybe I was wrong about him, and I wasn't. That show was the only thing that was interesting or fun about him.
Well, at least you got Kids in the Hall.
And that boy turned out to be Brendan Fraser.
I'm in the placebo group. All right. Any other thoughts on Kids in the Hall? And I apologize for being so scatterbrained.
You can watch Brain Candy on YouTube. Steph's husband won't watch it though because it'll hurt his eyes because it's not HD.
Jeff, you remember too many things about that call.
All right. So thanks again to Craig Northey of Odds and, of course, musical entertainment and scoring films and things like that. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. I was going to Lake Canadaga there, and we went down with Finger Lakes. They call me the Finger Lake Slasher, but I don't like that so much. I'd rather be called Syracuse CM. I like that, yeah. You know why they call me that? I skinned my humps.
All right, we're going to talk about what everybody watched and our staff picks. Mine is going to be very, very short. I watched the most recent episode of Invincible, thought it was really, really good. I like how they're setting it up to be a battle between junior and senior. And so that's going to be pretty epic. I think that's what's going to happen. And that's probably what happened in the comic book. But
it was great, though. The whole setup with what's his face, Titan.
Mm-hmm.
The end was a little surprise ending. I thought that was good.
Yep.
And what's his name? Machine Head.
Machine Head.
He was the one with the disc in his head. Machine Head. Yeah. The villain.
Yeah. I love.
There's a lot of humor in this episode, in which there's been humor in all of them, but this one was really funny. I laughed a lot in this episode.
What, Jeff?
He got that chip in his head. The guy.
Yeah. The characters are all pretty cool. Even when they introduce new heroes or villains and they end up being killed immediately. Everybody's dispensable on this show, which I like. I love that idea, but the main characters aren't going to die, but that we know of, but the side characters, they're pretty much Hi, you're dead.
I want to see that big son of a bitch, that big Thundercat thing. I want to see that fight Mark's dad.
Yes. Mark's dad will beat him though. Because Mark's dad's super strong. And I think now Mark is going to be stronger than his dad because he got the shit beat out of him. So we'll see. I wonder how many episodes are left. Can't be very many.
I think it's either 8 or 10 total. So
it would be either so there's either 4 or 6 more episodes. And then the other thing I did is I listened to a lot of podcasts, and plus I started reading a book, rereading a book I hadn't read in a very long time. And I finished it, which is amazing for me to read, actually sit and hold a physical book in my hand and read the whole thing. But I listened to Ben Mankiewicz on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast. It was last Monday's episode. It was really, really good. Now I want to watch Mank, which I didn't want.
I told you should watch Mank when it came out.
Well, no, I didn't want to not watch it. I wanted to watch Citizen Kane. So I watched Citizen Kane last month for the first time in my life. Loved it. Now I can watch Mank.
So now we can talk about Heat.
Hey, Heat's really, really old. And in this day and age, when things drop, we just talked about a 20 or a 25-year-old movie. Shut up. That's it for me.
And this week's Gilbert is very good. Also, Ken Kwapis, the director of tons of shows, Larry Sanders Show, The Office.
Oh, okay.
He's the guest this week.
Awesome.
It's a good listen. Also,
I also listened to Tim Dillon, but that's really not in our wheelhouse. But boy, it was funny.
Oh, is it? I don't understand how it's not in our wheelhouse. It's so
okay. It's one, but there are 2 funny.
I was just gonna say, if you want to jump into other podcasts, Bob Odenkirk is on both Conan O'Brien, He's a Friend, and Smartless this week to promote Nobody.
Oh, okay.
Out, which has been only in theaters, and I guess it did pretty well in the theaters.
I saw that he was on Howard Stern last week, or maybe the week before. I haven't been able to find that interview.
It's one of the only new movies that's been out in theaters since they tried reopening.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it did pretty well, but they're going to do at home pay-per-view on Friday. It comes out.
Oh, cool. I'll rent it over there.
So he was on there talking about that. Yeah, it sounds like I really want to see it. When I first saw the commercial, I thought, I don't want to risk going to the theater for that, but I would.
I'll risk COVID for something better.
Yeah, no.
I know.
No.
All right.
It's got to be a blockbuster for me to go to the theater. But it's written by the guy that wrote John Wick. I didn't know that, so it makes me want to see it even more.
I like John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to both those podcasts. Did you guys watch The Nevers last night on HBO?
No, is it good? I've been wanting to see it.
What's The Nevers?
Is Joss Whedon canceled?
Oh,
I don't know how you guys feel. I enjoyed the show.
Wait a minute.
I want to see it.
Joss Whedon
just started
canceled?
Yeah, isn't he canceled for being a douche?
Yeah.
So this is his show.
Yeah, he created it, directed it, wrote it.
Well, I probably wouldn't like it then. So no.
I liked it. It's about these people in like Victoria. Oh, and Pip Torrens is in it. From Hair Star.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I know. From Preacher.
Preacher, yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on that.
Early on.
And Nick Frost is in it. It's about this in Victorian England, this spaceship comes by and basically does like a chemtrail over the city.
Mm-hmm.
And all these people get special powers, like if the chemicals touched them.
Right.
So there's all kinds of people. There's like bad people and good people, and they're fighting against each other. And they're trying to round up all the people. The Nevers.
And it's on.
You watch the trailer. The trailer looks great.
HBO
Max.
Okay.
It just started last night, so there's only one episode. I really enjoyed the first one.
All right, if you really, really liked it, I'll give it a shot. I really don't like Joss Whedon at all, but I'll check it out.
So I wondered what you guys would think, because I know he's had some issues.
I don't care about that. I just think he does shit.
Canceled.
He's just a misogynist.
He's not like he's Bryan Singer or anything.
That's what I'm saying. He's not raping little boys in the hot tub.
I mean, if we were to cancel every movie made by a misogynist, there'd be no movies prior to this year. So I'm just going to continue to watch movies.
I watched the series finale of Shameless. 11 years that's been on, and it just ended on Sunday. And they had a little Zoom Q&A thing afterwards that I watched online. Kind of sad to see that go. It did kind of jump the shark a little when Amy Rossum left as Fiona, the oldest daughter, but they kind of still included her in the finale, even though she didn't come back to appear. They showed her in like flashbacks and stuff, so it was nice the way they wrapped it up. So I'm sad to see that show go. I'm like 3 or 4 episodes into watching the original, which is on Hulu.
Is it good?
The British version.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd seen the English version yet.
I hadn't never watched the original, but you can see how very much at least the first season is based on the original show. So I think there's maybe 11 seasons of that too. So yeah. I'm gonna keep watching that. Chad, Steph, what do you think of Chad? Did you watch it?
I did. It's good, but it's so cringy. Oh my god, is it so cringy?
It is horrible.
You spin the whole thing, you're like,
exactly.
It's funny, but it's so. Oh.
I like her friend though with the schnoz, the little nose kid.
Yeah.
They're funny together, and the friend is funny.
It's like Michael Scott times 1,000. The cringe factor.
I read a review, so maybe the person who wrote the review didn't get the cringe part of it because it wasn't funny. It was stupid and mean, and she's terrible. And I couldn't believe the review.
No, it was funny. They're stupid.
Yeah, it was funny. I liked it. I'm gonna keep watching it. I watched Thunder Force on Netflix.
Horrible.
Which was also terribly reviewed, but it was okay.
It was not.
For a Netflix movie?
It was a piece of shit.
I watched an epic takedown video of this movie by a Critical Drinker on YouTube. So if you want to watch something that's funnier than the movie, go on.
I will watch that. I read a whole big article about how they said Ben Falcone, she needs to sever her relationship with her husband and stop making movies with him because they're fucking horrible.
Well, they're wrong. Jason Bateman was good as the crab guy. It was funny. And Fear the Walking Dead just came back on Sunday, and I'm officially out.
Why?
I don't know. Spoiler alert: Garrett Dillahunt didn't make it.
Oh, I liked his character the one season I watched it with him in it, but other than that,
he's been on it ever since, and now.
Did he kill Did he kill 3 prostitutes and hang himself?
It was very expensive what he did.
Oh, it was.
I'm sure it was very expensive.
I don't get it.
That was what he said when they said, "What have you done on Deadwood?"
Oh, right.
And he goes, "I'm sure it was something very expensive."
Right. Totally forgot.
That's pretty much. I watched all of Hemingway on that PBS Ken Burns documentary, which is very good.
And does everything.
Yeah, very good. I watched Ken Burns documentary on fucking reading the phone book, man. Ken Burns stuff is so good, and Jeff Daniels reads like the voice of Hemingway throughout.
Spoiler alert: he kills himself.
First,
spoiler alert, he kills himself, and also he was like
letter and one number, and it was great because General Grant would pick up the phone book and it tickled me. He'd make a prank phone call and he'd just press 5. And the guy next door to him would answer the phone and he'd ask for that guy. And the guy would say, "I'm here." And he said, "Can you come over here? My refrigerator's running." And he said, "What's a refrigerator?" And General Grant said, "Well, I don't know." And that tickled me. Shelby Foote.
Miss Shelby Foote. That was my favorite impression you've ever done in your entire life.
Sometimes I feel like I forget how to do them. So you got to go back and answer those. But, and then the second phone book came out and the Yellow Pages was just half of a page. They painted it yellow because there wasn't any businesses out there that was willing to advertise in something that had numbers in it for something that only 1 or 2 people had. And I used to call up, and when I first got a telephone, it was the time when you would have to put your finger in the thing and turn the little thing there. And it was really difficult to do phone sex on one of those because phone sex came out and I still hadn't gotten a touch tone, still pulse. And press 1, and I'd press 1, and it would go. It was just crazy. So I just ended up not having phone sex. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Burns on the phone book coming 2022.
Burns in a very special documentary.
That was interesting, and Hemingway was an interesting character. I had no idea he was into like getting pegged and stuff.
Why is that in there?
It's in there.
It's Ken Burns, man. He don't.
That was his
warts and all.
That was his kink, man.
When General
like-
Johnson was in Atlanta as it was on fire, General Sherman sent a telegram up to President Lincoln and said on it, "I have captured Atlanta for you. Now I'm going to go to Atlanta Eagle and get pegged over a fence post." Because you see all those gay bars, nowadays are just bars because, no discrimination against. But back in those days, you'd have to go to a place and there'd be a dandy outside and he'd take you down in the basement and he'd throw you over a fence post and he'd roger you soundly. But it was usually made out of wood and they didn't have a lot of sandpaper back then. So it was a lot of Yankee boys went home with splinters in the buttholes.
What was your safe word?
My safe word was General Lee, and not General Lee specifically, but his horse. His horse. And, a lot of times people didn't know this, but it get lonely when you were bivouacking along a river. And when you would bivouac along a river, a lot of times you'd have to send out a couple of scouts to reconnoiter. And these old Southern boys, they ran into some Yankees, and the Yankees were yanking each other. And the Rebs said, "Well, can we join you?" And the Yankees said, "Well, yes. If you come over here, we'll have a circle jerk, play the game." Of course, I believe that was the first time anybody had ever played Ookie Cookie, but it was a biscuit. It was a hardtack, and it had the boll weevils on it, and they got the frosting on it, and everybody had a bite. Dear Martha, we played a game that I'd never played before. It was a game called Ookie Cookie. It was a hardtack biscuit, hard as a rock. But we were all hard as a rock that night as the gun settled. It was like peace between North and South, Yankee and Reb, yanking each other, watching each other. We all shot our respective arcs onto that biscuit.
No.
We broke it into 4 pieces and everybody had a bite. I love you and miss you, my darling. Okay, that was disgusting.
Sorry, Ken Burns. Apologies. The last thing I watched Made for Love. Did you guys, Steph, you watched some of those?
I watched all. I watched all 6 episodes that are available.
Is it good? I guess, huh?
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great.
Romano's hilarious, huh?
He is. I mean, just the whole. It's written well. All of the side characters are fantastic. I mean, it's a great show. I really liked it a lot.
Some of the boys didn't like having sex with men, so they took a burlap sack and they filled it up with horsehair. They would every time they kill an animal, or they find a dead soldier or something, they take the liver out and stuff it down in a crock, and that's what Made for Love comes from.
And my staff pick is going to be The Circle season 2.
Speaking of circle jerk
on Netflix, The Circle Jerk season 2.
British had occupied Washington, D.C., and while they was burning down the White House, Dolly Madison said, "Well, please don't steal the paintings." And they took the paintings down, and a couple of those old redcoats, they had a circle jerk on top of the painting of George Washington, and it tickled them. Disgusting Shelby Foote. Yeah, Mississippi. I don't know where he's from.
Oh, let's see. I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Still good. I like it. It's
I'm still sticking with it.
Yeah, it's neat. Say again.
They get the loan yet?
No boat yet.
No boat yet. But we were kind of right on the direction of Johnny Walker for sure. Yeah, he's the end of it, man. That was, and then the name of the episode is "The Whole World Is Watching," and the last 2 minutes of the show really really shows that.
It's a woke term.
Well, and it's a woke situation. Well, kind of a woke or a modern situation. I mean, before, you could have, if you slipped up in superhero lore, most of the time there's not 500 cell phones with cameras pointed at you when you did it.
Right.
And, that's kind of what happens with this one, but it's definitely going to lead to Captain America becoming what he did in the comics for a little while, and which wasn't so American.
Okay.
And it's good. I'm gonna keep going. Also I watched Invincible. We already talked about. I watched the first episode of Them. On Prime.
I was waiting to hear Steph's review before I jump in on that.
I didn't watch it because I read that it was just torture porn, so I didn't bother to watch it.
It's very similar. It reminded me so much of Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, it's not for me.
At least the first episode. Very. I mean, the whole premise is based on race. I mean, that's what the whole thing is, but it's also masked by just like Lovecraft Country, kind of a supernatural element that's come in. Family moves from North Carolina to Compton, and Compton at that time in the 1950s is an all-white, very it was full of previous Southerners that moved there. So the same mentality that they had tried to escape from, they end up living in the middle of. As soon as they move in, all the neighbors come out and with chairs and iced tea and radios and sit around their house on the street and just blare the radio maximum volume, like 25 transistor radios.
Crackers with Attitude is from Compton.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And
coming straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker name.
But that's what's kind of interesting about the whole thing, as far as they set up Compton to be this Shangri-La, and then but this but there's also this supernatural thing that's going on with the kids. There's two little girl, or a older girl and a younger girl, and the younger girl starts seeing things that appear inside the house. So they kind of left it. They put all the racial stuff right up front, but then the supernatural stuff started kicking in more towards the end. But if you liked Lovecraft Country, you'd probably like this. But if it was not your cup of tea, then this, probably wouldn't want to watch this either.
I read the show description and said, this isn't for me.
I was watching it and I was saying, this isn't for Tim. Also watched, I'd watched the first season on Shudder, but Creepshow is on Prime. They've put first and second season on Prime, so that's available. Cool. And the first episode is a two-parter. It has the blonde Cylon from
Trisha Helfer.
Yeah, she's the main character in one segment. And then there's a little kid revenge story as the other, with bullies that are chasing the little kid, and the little kid gets back at them supernaturally. So it's good. It's still like the first season. I mean, it's like Creepshow with about a quarter of the original budget. So I mean, from the original Creepshows. So it's not as well produced money wise, but the stories are still there. The same feel is still there. So and I'm a King nut. So, and he's contributing to each of these seasons. So whether it be an existing story that's a short story that he already wrote, or something new, he'll have something in each season that's King's. So at least he's tying himself with it, unlike the third Creepshow movie that had nothing to do with him or the franchise. They just used the name.
Meteor shit.
Yeah. But it's good, and it's on Prime. So unlike what I watched on HBO Max, which was the New Mutants, finally after 3 years, finally is able to watch on HBO Max. I think it came out last year. It finally hit the theater. It was the last of the Fox Bryan Singer era X-Men movies.
Oh, it's a movie.
Yeah, to finally come out.
Terrible, huh?
It reminded me very much of like an episode on the CW of something. Yeah.
Their powers were kind of cool, but the movie itself kind of sucked.
Yeah, it didn't really have much. I mean, it would have if it had done well and they would continue the movies. The owner of the company is Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
You never see him. I mean, he's not there. They have a lot of references to the Essex Company, which is the company he owns in the comic. And so ultimately, this is the place, the same group that that made Logan, that were hunting him in the movie Logan, hunting Wolverine. So that same company, the Essex Company, is using kids that are mutants and finding them right when they hit puberty and when their powers come up, and then putting them in this program to quote unquote help them, but they're really like they've always done, they're taking their DNA to be weaponized and used, but it's pretty neat. It's got the little girl, or the girl from Arya from Game of Thrones. She's in there, and I think they filmed how old this is just to show you how long it took to come out. They filmed this in between season 6 and 7 of Game of Thrones.
Wow.
So she was easily 6 years younger, than she is now. So it's neat. It's neat to see that, but I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you like the X-Men movies, the Fox X-Men movies, it's fun just to kind of see another side of it that doesn't really show any of the X-Men, but it does reference a lot of things that happened in that world. But it's
Kelsey Grammer as the Beast.
Yeah. Bad, but it's okay, but it's not something I would watch again. And I'll usually watch all the X-Men movies. I'll watch them if they're on, but this one I probably would just keep flipping. And I didn't really have a staff pick this week, so.
Okay, well, we finally cut the cord, gave AT and TU-verse their garbage back. So by doing that, I went ahead and signed up for Discovery Plus because I don't want to miss a lot of my stuff.
Oh, you can share your password with me now.
I can share my password, and I will. But we watched the Tournament of Champions, which I've been hearing about. I just hadn't watched it yet. It's where they take all the chefs, the greatest chefs from the East and the West Coast, and they pit them against each other. That's a really, oh my God, I love that show. And Snowfall, great episode this week again.
Spoilers.
No spoilers, but yeah, it's some big shit happens. I watched Concrete Cowboy. It's about those Fletcher Street cowboys in Philadelphia. It's like all the black cowboys that live in the hood there. And it's like a real thing. They did a documentary on it.
Yeah.
But Idris Elba, it's cheesy. The movie is cheesy. I'm not even kidding. It's very cheesy. But the kid from Stranger Things, the black kid, you actually get to see how good of an actor he is. He's a good little actor.
He is good. He's good on Stranger Things.
Yeah, his really shows his range in this. Yeah. But anyway, I wouldn't recommend it, but I would not recommend it. It's okay. I like horses. The story was whatever. It made my tears jerk a little bit, but anyway. And Made for Love, got caught up on that. I love Made for Love. It's great. You really got to watch it. And this other show, which was out last year, I never watched it. Now that it's on HBO Max, it was a Comedy Central show called The Other Two. Mm-hmm. And it's about this brother and sister. They're pretty close in age, in their late 20s. And they're both struggling in New York City, trying to make something themselves. The brother is a gay actor. The sister, who knows what she's going to do. Well, their younger brother is 13, and he did a YouTube video that has taken off.
I saw the show.
It's funny, right?
I watched the show when it was out, yeah.
Yeah, so I watched like 7 episodes of it. It's very funny. And I guess season 2 is going to be out sometime this year on HBO Max.
The mom is somebody famous, too.
Yeah, it's Molly Shannon.
Molly Shannon, yeah.
Molly Shannon plays the mom. But it's a dark, the humor is dark and it's very funny. Wanda Sykes Hall, for the first time in ages, is hilarious on this show. I haven't seen her get to be funny in a long time. So anyway, I highly recommend it. It's called The Other Two, and it's streaming on HBO Max. And my staff pick comes from Made for Love. If you remember the scene, Jeff, whenever she goes into the bar with Ray Romano, the dad, They left the sex doll out in the truck. There's a song playing, and it's like a yacht rock song. It's like, how long has it been? Well, I was like, what is the song? I know it's an old song, but I've never heard it before. And I looked it up, and it was on this compilation album that came out in 2017. You know, those groups, this one is called the Numero Group, you know, where they do like those K-Tel compilation albums.
Right.
Well, they found like all of these unknown yacht rock songs from the 70s, early 80s, and they put them all together on this one album, and it's called Seafaring Strangers Private Yacht. I highly recommend it. It's streaming on Spotify.
Oh,
And
I'm
it's
gonna check
all
that
like
out.
Know the songs, or the songs you've never heard before?
songs I'd never heard before, but they're all old songs.
Wow.
And a lot of them, Tim, you'll probably know what the hell this is. Like one of the songs is by this guy, they called him Calvin Johnson, but they really don't know what his name is because it was off one of those tax scam albums
Yeah.
where they pressed more albums, or they said that they pressed more albums than they actually sold. And they took like people that sent in their demo songs and shit, and they just put them on this album. And you don't even know who some of these people are. They just made up names for them.
Wow.
They never get royalties for them or anything. So like that one song, it's called Dance of Love. It says Calvin Johnson, but they don't know who the fuck that is
Right.
because it came from
I'm
one
gonna
of
check
those
that
tax scam albums. But anyway, so I highly recommend it.
Jeff
Seafaring
got a
Strangers
song.
Private Rap. Yeah.
Jeff found a song one time that I'd never heard before. That either called Lakeshore Drive. You say that's the goofiest song you've ever heard in your life?
Oh yeah, the LSD song.
Yeah. Driving down.
They swear it's not about acid, but they keep going. She's tripping on LSD. They're talking about Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, it's not about LSD.
That's funny.
So check it out. It's Seafaring Strangers Private Yacht, right?
Yeah, it's on Spotify, like the whole album.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. That's our staff picks and what we watched. Want to again thank Craig Northey for replying to Jeff with some of his thoughts and recollections.
He emailed me back saying that they had to postpone. Him and Stephen Page were going to do another city winery tour, but they've had to push it back twice now. So they don't know when they're going to be able to get it rescheduled.
Yeah,
He's hopeful it'll be soon though.
I think if City Winery were in a suburb or something, they probably would be able to do it. But Atlanta's not going to allow anything at all. Even though Sandy Springs, Georgia, is now allowing outdoor concerts to resume.
Oh.
So tell us about Barkville.org, Steph. How did it go over the weekend at your at the Octane and
Caffeine and Octane? I think they had a pretty good turnout. I saw some pictures from it, and it looked like they had a lot of people buy raffle tickets, and they had a lot of people stop by that were interested in the dogs.
Good.
So, and thank you, Dustin. I saw that you put the link up again for the raffle tickets. So I appreciate that. We're pushing hard to get as many people to buy as they can. We could really use the money because the pandemic hit us hard with our fundraisers that we had last year. So if you'd like to buy one, go to barkvilledogrescue.org, and there's a link on there for the raffle tickets as well. Appreciate it. And this is just something different that I'd just like to say. I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago, I used to go to Gwinnett Animal Shelter a lot, and I would do videos and things like that. Well, a lot of the dogs that we got rescued, we thought, they went to a place up north, out of state, and these were like hard to adopt dogs. Well, this place that they went to actually got busted. It wasn't a good place. So a lot of those dogs are, they're having to be pulled by other rescues right now. And it's bad. I mean, there's like a pit with like 30 bodies in it and all this. It's a fucking nightmare. I've been crying about it for like 3 days. But anyway, there's 2 rescues. It's called guardiansofrescue.org, and also Pitiful Paws. Both of these rescues have jumped in, and they're really trying to help, with the dogs that are left up there. A lot of them are dogs that I worked with, and they're still there. So.
Where is this?
It was in West Virginia.
West Virginia. And what were they?
This lady, she would take dogs of ours that nobody would take, and kind of pitched herself as like a Caesar Milan type of, she put them all in a pack. And I mean, these were These were dogs that didn't get along with other dogs, and she was their only chance out. It was that, or they were going to get euthanized. And so we would think, oh, well, some chance is better than none. And as it turns out, they've been living, 2 years in horror up there, the ones that lived. So anyway, this does happen sometimes.
Is bitch in jail yet?
Huh?
Is bitch in jail?
Well, I mean, she has a huge case against her, and they've seized all the animals and they've shut her down. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're pursuing legal, but we'll see what happens. But if you did want to donate to guardiansofrescue.org or Pitiful Paws, please go online and do that, because they could really use the money. They're spending every dime they can to help these dogs, because a lot of them are in really bad shape. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for telling us about that. We'll send me that link so we can put it in the show notes, please.
Okay.
And,
Keep it canine.
I'll share it. Yeah, keep it canine and keep it the fuck out of West Virginia. Going to be in West Virginia driving through in a couple of weeks. You want to find this lady? I'll give her a.
Make sure you stop by after you visit the Forged and Fire knife guy.
If we do that, that would be great.
I don't have $10,000 to buy a knife. I mean, a couple
Just
of
make your own while you're there.
Hey, let me use Big Blue while I'm.
You just keep on cooking over to Rhode Island and grab one of Garrett's knives.
Yeah, that's right. Garrett will give me a knife. Give me that sword, Garrett. I need it.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening or viewing, and we will talk to you in a couple of days on our weekend episode. So until that time, please remember to keep
it canon.